The road to the other shore needs compassion. I'm just going to call everybody up at once. No, I have that. I have that set aside. Don't. You gonna come next week? No. Yeah, there's church. No, not on the 22nd and the 29th. So there will be one on the 15th. Yeah. I have it sitting on my desk. Right there. I had that, and I had the cash box for selling tickets for the walk, and I thought that was really important. So my mind was focused on that. Couldn't think of anything else. Man, stuff growing old. You may have sent an email, but I don't usually read the email. You can't print it on this computer? You got it. Darn, I was going to set a precedent. You give her some help. Let me do my thing, and then I'll come back and finish.
Namanda Vatsanamanda 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 Vatsanamanda.
Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for coming to our Bodhi Day service. We will start with opening meditation, followed by Nembutsu.
Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda.
Good morning. My name is Fred Pokoroba, and I will be the chairperson for today's service. We will start with Sambujo and aspiration.
We are gathered here this morning to commemorate the Day of Enlightenment of Siddhartha Gautama, which took place on the morning of December 8th, over 2,500 years ago in India. Along with the rising of the morning star, he became the Buddha, the fully awakened one. As we observe this very auspicious occasion, may we learn from the content of his enlightenment and begin to live each day fully, humbly, and gratefully. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.
We will now have the Gatha, When We See the Golden Sun, service book, page 227, followed by Three Treasures, which is also included in this program. But I will point out in the program, When We See the Golden Sun, the second line of the second verse is not the Lord is night, but I think autocorrect got in there, and it's still our Lord is nigh.
Three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.
We will now have Sutra Chanting, Jusei service book, page 94, and it's also included in this program.
Segan, Ishi 宾宮政府上昇学菓子上仏論妙正長寺本空教未正門政府上昇学利欲人少年上映主本業しぐむ浄土一生天にし地に起縁大根不正無大道少女作名交際主役難会費自衛源名詞公務案閉塞小悪道通達税種門高層上満足いよろじぽ日月主樹金天根普賢一種会保存公正苦読本上大集中聖母子子空供養一切仏具足習徳本金質上満徳意三害音女仏無下地通達未不詳科学エリと最小尊志願や交換大聖の感動国書定人とうち妙見ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマ Namanda Vatsinamanda 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 Namanda Vats.
We will now have Oshoko incense offering by the following representatives. Dharma School student Andrew Kawaguchi. Dharma School teacher Mike Shibata. Sangha Club, Jules Belt. Young Buddhist Association, Alex Kawaguchi. Young Adult Buddhist Association, Dr. Linda Kawaguchi. Adult Buddhist Association, Dolores Matsumura. Tomono Kai, Montoya Takahashi. Stockton Bukyo Taiko, Chris Kubo. Stockton Buddhist Women's Association, Sandra Kano. Cortez Howokai, Dan Kubo. Stockton, the Buddhist Church of Stockton, Debbie Nakati. We will now have a Dharma School message from Reverend Dr. Kenji Akahoshi, and we will have Reverend Shibata give us a little background.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It's so wonderful to see all of you join us today. And it's really my pleasure and honor to be able to have Reverend Dr. Kenji Akahoshi and his wife join us today. I think in my career of being a minister, and I think I'm on year 9, this is the first time in my career to actually, I think, have Reverend Akahoshi be a guest speaker. So he came all the way out to join us for this very special occasion. And so I'm not sure if you know much about Reverend Akahoshi, but he was a dentist before he became a minister. And that's why his teeth are so beautiful. You'll be able to see his beautiful smile a little bit, in a little bit. And so he was a former dentist and had a private practice in San Jose. Even before that, he was in the U.S. Air Force for 3 years at Misawa Air Force Base in Japan. And even prior to becoming a minister, Sensei was involved at the San Jose Buddhist Church Betsuin, and he served at as the board president, but has been very, very busy in regards to his Buddhist life and sharing Buddhism in various different ways. And so at the Santa Clara County Juvenile Hall, he was a Buddhist chaplain for 7 years, also originated and conducted Buddhist Vision Quest, and this was high school seniors, a program for high school seniors, and he did this for 10 years, and also has done numerous retreats in California, Washington, and Hawaii since 1998. And Sensei, are you still doing those retreats too? Oh, okay. Okay, so because of COVID, it stopped, but hopefully he'll be resuming, and from folks that have participated, they have been very impactful and very powerful to be able to attend those retreats. But Sensei does have wide variety of different degrees in education. And so he has a master's degree from the Institute of Transpersonal Psychology in Palo Alto, California. We were students at the Institute of Buddhist Studies where he received a master's degree. And he's served at the San Diego Buddhist Temple for 8 years, 8+ years, but he recently retired, but I'm sure he's just as busy as he was before because he's still teaching, and he's assisting the minister's assistants, currently doing classes for them, for both the Buddhist Churches of America and Hawaii, and he's really supporting the current ministers as he's part of the Dharma Forward campaign and really advocating for support for ministers. And he's also developing programs for the Buddhist Church of America in their propagation and membership committee for temples so that we can learn how to attract new members and what types of programmings might be necessary. And Sensei is actually staying a little bit later with us today if you would like to come to that seminar of how do we attract new members, and if you possibly have ideas, we welcome you to join us at 1 p.m. And so also for continuing Buddhist education, he's still presenting programs and still providing lectures all over, whether it's the Buddhist Churches of America, Hawaii, and beyond as well. So, despite his very busy schedule, still in retirement, we're so fortunate that Sensei can take time to be with us, and of course his wife as well. So thank you so much for coming. So without further ado, Reverend Dr. Kenji Akahoshi.
Of course, it'll take me a while to get the computer started. No, actually, we won't. It's not that, there's not that much to see. I'll try to work on this computer later. It'll take me too long. Good morning. I want to thank Reverend Shibata for this invitation to speak here and for the kind introduction. I do have a long relationship with Stockton Temple. My uncle and auntie, Mitz and Elsie Kagehiro, were members here for a very long time. And their son and my cousin Russell also, was here, and Kim, his sister. Russell's now in L.A., where his daughters are living. But also we have relatives in the form of my wife's relatives in the Tatayamas, and on my sister's side, the Okamotos, Uminos, and good friends, the Tsunekawas, Yamaguchis, and Iwanagas. So there are many people that we do know here. And so my talk for the children this morning will be on Nembutsu, Namu Amida Butsu. We say this all the time, but sometimes we're not sure what that means, right? And I think as young people, you might help us. But it means a lot of different things, and it's very hard to explain because Shiran actually said it's indescribable. So, what is it that we do? We say Namu Amida Butsu or Namandavs all the time in the service. And one way to think about it is that it helps us to change our minds. Because when we think about aligning our minds with truth, then things work out well. If we don't, then things don't work out well. Think about gravity. That's a law, and Buddhism is based on laws of natural law. And so, if you jump from a 10-foot fence or something, you might break a leg, but what if you jump from a 100-foot cliff? So Buddhism just agrees with natural laws. And so what Buddhism can do, and Nembutsu, is really help us to shift our minds, because we go through our days and lots of things are happening, and sometimes we think, oh, this isn't very good. Saying Namandabs kind of can shift this. Now, again, okay, is it? Now, for the young people, what is the three poisons? Second Noble Truth. Is it up there? Ta-da! I'm from the old school, so well, it should be. Hatred, ignorance, and greed, right? Hatred, ignorance are the three poisons. And what is that? That spells hig. You know what that is? I'm not too sure. But just by saying Namandavs, we can change that. Hatred can switch to humility. Ignorance can change to understanding. And greed can change to gratitude. And what does that spell? Hug. So I like to think of Nembutsu as being like a hug. It doesn't answer a lot of things, but it sure makes us feel better. And so let's think about, how it can change our minds, because it can help us when we, are feeling sad, or we get hurt, or even when we feel good, we say Namandavs. And sometimes when we feel anxious, we could say that and feel calm, and just saying it just to appreciate things. And so it's something that we could say just to feel being alive. And so let me go over a story. And you may be familiar with this in your own lives or know people like this. It's a story about Cory and his grandfather, Jichan. And, Cory's about 7 or 8, and he and Jichan, his grandfather, were doing things together. One day, Cory's running around and has this superhero thing, and he's saying, Shazam, Shazam. I don't know, I think I'm outdated, but for the young people, there's a guy named, I guess it was Superman. Anyway, one of the superheroes. And Jichan says, what does that mean? And Cory says, I don't know, but it makes me feel good. So Jichan tells him, well, I know another word that's kind of magical like that, but you can say it as an adult, and Shazam, people might think you're a little silly if you're a grown-up to say it, but this is Namandavs, And Cory says, oh, isn't that what we see at the end of the chant? It means that we're going to stop chanting pretty soon. And Jichan says, yeah, but what it really means, he says, how do you feel after you chant? Don't you feel a little calmer? And Cory says, yeah. So he says, when we chant it 5 or 6 times, you can really think about what we're saying and appreciate things, Namandavs. And you say it very slowly, you can concentrate on that. So we can sometimes think of the chanting as preparing us to really experience this Namandavs. Anyway, so Cory understood that, and he's wondering, well, I wonder what else. And so he noticed that Jichan says this all the time. Sometimes when they were taking a walk, in a nice place and taking a hike, they came to a pond and the birds singing and flowers, and Jichan would say, Namandavs, Namandavs, just, feeling good. And then there are times when it was raining. Ji-chan's out there fixing the rain gutter because it's raining, and he's saying, "Namandavs," you know. And Corey notices that. And then when neighbors might bring over some fruits or vegetables, he'd say, "Thank you, Namandavs." So Ji-chan would be saying this all the time. Even when the family would get together sometimes, Ji-chan would just say quietly, "Namandavs, Namandavs," just kind of appreciating things. And Corey's dog died. He was crying, and Ji-chan came over and gave him a hug and said, you know, everything changes and things do die, and we can feel sad. And he gave Corey a hug and said, "Namandavs," and, you know, it made him feel a little better. Another time when he fell down, he skinned his knee. Ji-chan came over, gave him a hug, and said, "Namandavs." It didn't help the healing that much, but he felt better. And so he had all these different times that he said this. Corey won something in junior high school, an award, and so the family went there, and Ji-chan said, "Namandavs, congratulations." So it has all these different meanings. And when Corey was in high school practicing basketball, every time he made a basket, Ji-chan would say, "Namandavs." And so when his team won the championship, they got to get into the group hug, and Corey automatically said, "Namandavs," you know, just kind of spontaneously because he had heard that so much. And so, you know, the shout, Ji-chan said, you know, it's very magical. You can say it silently, yell it when you're sad, you know, when you're anxious, at any time. It has so many feelings. And actually, it could also mean that you're so happy to be alive. It's kind of like a spiritual hug. And as Corey grew up to be a young adult, one day his parents called him and said to come home because Ji-chan was not feeling well. And when he got home, Ji-chan was actually, you know, breathing his last breath. And he could hear him saying, "Namandavs, Namandavs." And as Ji-chan breathed his last breath, Corey felt this little energy entering his body. And it felt like a spiritual hug. And he said, "Namandavs." And so it is this connection we have, this spiritual connection, life energy, that we have with everything around us. And these words that can't be defined very clearly, it has all these different experiences, mainly to connect us with the spiritual part of us that sometimes we ignore. And so that's something that Corey kept in mind. And this is something that I think all of us may have experienced as children, as parents and grandparents. And so we might be familiar with this story. I think, you know, I'm old enough where I could remember Issei, first and second generation people, especially my grandmother, being like Ji-chan, just saying "Namandavs," you know, spontaneously at any time. And this is what it is. It is this voice of the spiritual speaking through us, saying, "Oh, you know, thank you for being here." And so with that, please join me in expressing our deepest sense of appreciation of thank you with the Nembutsu. Gassho, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandavs. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Reverend, for that Sunday school talk. We will now have our pledge, which is in the back of the service book.
Please stand if you're comfortable. If not, you can remain seated. Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words just like the kind Buddha, not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance. I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Please be seated.
We will now have installation of the Buddhist Church of Stockton 2025 officers of the affiliated organizations and executive committee. We will start with the Adult Buddhist Association, President Dolores Matsumura. Oh, I forgot to say that as your name is called, please stand up there and hold the candle, and the last member of the organization will put it in the candelabra. Next, Vice President Mabel Moridomi. Recording Secretary Mike Shibata. Corresponding Secretary Barbara Ueda. Treasurer Peggy Takahashi.
For the Young Adult Buddhist Association, President Dr. Linda Kawaguchi. Vice President Dr. Alan Kawaguchi. Recording Secretary Mike Shibata. Corresponding Secretary Karen Shimozaki. Treasurer Tiffany Shibata. Historian Fred Pokoroba.
Now have Stockton Bukio Taiko, President Chris Kubo. Vice President, Artistic Director, Keanu Kishi. Vice President and Gig Coordinator, Ralph Womack. Recording Corresponding Secretary, Mayumi Hata. Treasurer, Mariella Bella Argiola. Historian, Ann Fukumoto. I'll have Tomono Kai, President, Wayne Morisaki. Corresponding Secretary, Margaret Kawai. Treasurer, Peggy Takahashi. Now we'll have the Stockton Buddhist Women's Association, their Executive Council, Darlene Bagshaw, Dolores Matsumura, and Sachi Yanokida. Vice President, Ruby Kato. Corresponding Secretary, Vivian Fuji. Corresponding Secretary, Sterling. Treasurer, Kay Freeman. Co-Treasurer, Lois Niishi. Next is the Executive